care of some errands in Liyue, and the boss got tangled up with some Millilith while we were standing in a line. He was about to get arrested when, luckily, Yanfei happened to be walking past and helped us out.
Itto do be getting into fights all the freaking time. I assume, I have not completed the Inazuma Archon quest. I assume after we murder the Raiden Shogun and chop her head off clean with her own Booba sword, and then hand over the Booba sword to tearful Yaimiko. She knew we had to kill her wife, but she still hated to see it come to fruition. After we murder the Raiden Shogun, decapitate her, give the Booba sword back to Yaimiko. Yaimiko puts it up in the shrine. Then Yaimiko gets promoted to the president in command of Inazuma and says, okay, you guys can fucking leave now. I'm sorry. I had nothing to do with the prior administration's politics and their decision making. It was pretty fucked up. You guys can go to the statue, get all your rocks back, your glowy stones, put them back in your earrings, and then also you can like leave if you want. It's like we're getting overpopulated. Certain parts of the city are like starting to smell. Like just please go on a vacation, go do something. And then in the meantime, Itto is in the background. He's like, hey, let's have a fucking concert, guys. And then Yaimiko's like, yeah, actually, I've kind of been through a lot. Let's not do that right now. And then Itto's like, no, I really think we should have a concert, and it should have a really epic name. And then Yaimiko's like, yeah, no, actually, I just watched my wife get decapitated because she became an evil dictator that was ruining everybody's lives. And for some reason, people still like her and spent millions of dollars pulling for her banner. So I'm going to have to say no concerts right now. Maybe you just go home or fack off to a different place. So he's like, okay, fine. I'm going to call my little extremely short ninja girl and we're going to go to Liyue and get some bitches, because Shinobu's a lesbian. We already know that. And so they go to Liyue to get some bitches, right? And so while they're there, they're waiting in line. Shinobu's like, oh, hey, while we're in town, I completed grad school like 4 years ago. And then it was my bachelor's, and I never actually got it because evil Booba sword lady locked down the whole country, and I couldn't fucking leave or do anything. And so then they're like, okay, so let's go get your graduation slip, right? Whatever. She's like, oh, by the way, it's been 3 years. I don't remember anything about law. Itto's like, okay, fuck off. I guess you just want it for the paper. And she's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want it for. And also the paper will get me bitches. And Itto's like, hey, I like bitches. Let's get the paper. So they're in line waiting to get the graduation paper, right? All of a sudden, these cops show up, and they're both tatted, like, head to toe. They're in Liyue, where everyone's a fucking square that wears a high-collar dress with the shirt and the dress going all the way down to their ankles. The most you can ever see is, like, somebody's toe knuckle, maybe if they're wearing, like, thinly wired sandals. And so then they see Itto and Shinobu and, like, oh, okay. These guys are not going to go in my town. I'm not letting that slip. It's the local cop, right? We all know. I live in a small town. Trust me. So they go up and like, hey, you from out of town? And then Itto's like, oh, what gave that away, smart ass? And then Shinobu's like, oh, God, here we go. And the cop's like, what'd you just call me? And he was like, I called you a little dick smart ass. What are you going to do about it? Pig. And then that's when the fight starts. They all just start piling in. Like 50 milliliths come out from all the balconies around the banks. And he just like, oh, damn, it's time for my big stubby nubby spiked sword. And he pulls it out. He's starting to pull it out. And all of a sudden, Yanfei comes out. She's like, wait, everybody stop. And everyone stops. Because when Yanfei speaks, you listen. And so then everybody stops. And she walks up. She's like, what's going on here? And the cop was like, well, I was just kindly asking these strangers what's going on. And Yanfei, we get smug. He's like, you were harassing them because they're young and sexy, weren't you? And the cop's like, no, I was. She's like, and then her little horns, they twitch. And he's like, okay, I was harassing them because they were young and sexy. And then all of a sudden, Smugfae goes, whoosh, and she looks at Itto. Whoosh, she looks way down at Shinobu. Back at Itto, and that's when you know. And so then Itto's like, yeah, they were messing with us for no reason. I was gonna smash all of them with my big nubby club spike sword, right? And Yanfei's like, yeah, that's not gonna work for me. I'm basically the president of Liyue now. And then Ito's like, actually, I have a Geo-Vision, and I know that the other chick with the Geo-Vision is kind of the president of Liyue now. And Yanfei's like, actually, I kind of do all of the law work, which makes me the president. And so then Ito's like, and then Shinobu's like, let me handle this. And she puts her hand up on Ito's back, like way up there, because she's like only up to his waist, right? And she says, hi, I am Kooky Shinobu. Yanfei interrupts. And then Shinobu's like, wow. And she like starts sweating. She like pulls her mask out, take a couple deep breaths, puts it back on. And Yanfei's like, I've heard all about you. I too graduated from whatever the feck the name of the law school is. You've been gone for years. Where were you? I've been holding on to your graduation slip for 3 years now. And then they lock eyes. And Shinobu can't help but to quiver a little bit. I've undergone a traumatic life in my home nation of Inazuma, where the evil Booba sword lady locked down everything and nobody could leave. And then my queen, Yaimiko, everybody loves the shrine maiden Yaimiko. She has this deep connection, this deep sensual connection to the evil Booba sword lady. And she knew the only way to free the people of Inazuma was to cut off her head and maintain control of the land herself. But she couldn't do it. So she had to bring in this random stranger that nobody knows but instantly trust immediately because they have honest eyes. And she says to the stranger, traveler, I need you to murder my wife. And so then they did in front of Yaimiko, and there was purple electric blood everywhere. And then they pulled the Booba sword out and gave it to the Fox Queen. And then I could finally leave, and that's why I'm finally back here in Liyue. I just want my graduation papers. And then Itto, being the boss that he is, he says, wait a second. I know how to decide who gets to keep the graduation papers. And then Yanfei's like, no, actually, I was holding on to the sheik and I eat. Hey, don't interrupt me. I know how we can decide who gets to keep the graduation papers. He says, hand it over to me for a moment. Shinobu and Yanfei lock eyes, tension. Then they look at Itto, and they both simultaneously say, no. And Itto says, oh, just trust me. I know the best way that we can resolve this. He takes out his cell phone. He takes the paper, the graduation slip, and he says, all right, you two, stand face to face, look at each other. Locking eyes again. Now even Yanfei is starting to sweat a little bit. She's starting to break her composure. You guys know Yanfei doesn't break composure. Shinobu can't help it. She hasn't left Inazuma in 3 years. She hasn't seen a babe in 3 years. She's like, she can't handle it, especially not in Pride Month. So then Itto takes the graduation slip and he dangles it right between them, right? He says, so here's the game. I'm going to hold it above your heads, and I'm going to count to 3 and release the paper. As it drops between you two have to stop it with your mouths and then pull away. And whoever's mouth the paper sticks to gets to keep it. And Yanfei now, she's making a connection with Shinobu, right? She actually can't look away. And so she says, honestly, I was just holding on to this to give it back to you. And Shinobu says, yeah, that's fine. I think we should do what Itto says. It might be fun. And then Yanfei, being like, she can't walk away from an opportunity for social media virality, right? And Itto's already got the phone out. He's got it on selfie mode, right? And Yanfei's like, yes, I too actually believe that this may be in our best interest to participate in the fun game that this extremely tall, awkwardly skinny but super muscular man has proposed, and perhaps we may both benefit from it on social media to help push our careers as engineers of the law. And Shinobu says, yeah. So then Itto says, okay, here we go. 5, 4, 3. Everyone in the town square is watching closely, intently, circled around them. 2. Both of them are just dripping in sweat, waiting for the moment. 1. Silence. You could hear the drop of a pin. Phew. almost as if it's dropping in slow motion. This is the first moment that Shinobu and Yanfei have broke eye contact the entire time. It slowly drops. Neither of them realize what has happened, but as it's going down and their eyes could have locked again, they've both already closed their eyes, moving in to try and stop the paper, but oh no, they were too slow. Immediate blushing. One moment, one quick little supple kiss. And that's when they knew. They had to try it again because Shinobu forgot to pull her mask down, and it kind of fact up the whole moment for everybody. Itto's screaming, furious, and that's when Kujo Sara comes flying in with her weird fucking feathers that come out of nowhere. She's like, is she a human? Is she a bird? I don't fucking know. And so anyways, they had that. The rest of that comes out in 2.8, in the event for 2.8, right? So that's all the lead up that came to this point right here. That Itto, like we're back to this point, and Itto, he's like, it's the traveler wasn't there, and like that's his short story version of it, like his TLDR version of like, oh, by the way, Yanfei kind of saved my life one time, and then Shinobu obviously doesn't mention it because she's still embarrassed that she forgot to pull her mask down and ruin their first kiss, and it was a mess. You had to be there, honestly. So anyways, I don't know how they managed to make a dude in a brown suit with dress shoes so damn cool with a fucking rat tail in like in the board meeting where we're deciding like, okay, he's the god of rocks. He's a badass. What do you want him to look like? And some dude slams his fist on the table. He says, rat tail, one ear pierced, dress shoes, and a brown suit. Everybody looks at each other. And then everybody looks at him simultaneously. And then they throw him out the window.